Welcome to the Addicted to Recovery podcast, where we will delve into the transformative journey of overcoming addiction and embracing a life of recovery. In this podcast, we share stories of hope, resilience and triumph, exploring the challenges, victories and lessons learned along the way. The Addicted to Recovery podcast is a platform for sharing stories of resilience, hope and transformation in the face of addiction. Through candid conversations and heartfelt reflections, we aim to inspire, educate and empower listeners on their own journey of recovery. Join us as we explore the path from darkness to light, from addiction to freedom and from despair to hope. This is Addicted to Recovery. This monologue is something I wrote to share my experience coping with my brother's addiction. It's been a journey filled with a mix of anger, helplessness, love and hope. I want to capture the internal conflict of supporting someone you love while dealing with the pain of watching them struggle. I hope it resonates with anyone who's faced something similar or who's had to find strength in difficult circumstances. Growing up, I never thought I would find myself in the midst of this storm, trying to make sense of the chaos that has become of ours in my brother's lives. His addiction is a beast that none of us were prepared for. It crept into our home, silent and insidious, and turned our worlds upside down. My brother's addiction was like a shadow that crept in slowly, unnoticed at first. I watched helplessly as my brother began to slip away, replaced by someone I barely recognised. The hardest part is the helplessness. You see the signs, the changes in behaviour, the lies, the excuses. You know the person who you love is in trouble, drowning in something you or they can't control. The thieving from the family, the deceit, the manipulation, the embarrassment I've seen my mum feel because of his behaviour, and supporting her to realise that this is the addiction and nothing she has caused. Myself and my family getting fueled by anger and resentment because our personal belongings and our lives were being stolen to nourish this hideous disease. The impact ripples through the entire family. We are all caught up in this web of pain and confusion. We cry more, we worry constantly, we get angry often, we argue more as a family. It becomes exhausting both physically and emotionally. Sometimes I feel that I'm losing myself in this fight, like my own identity has been swallowed by my brother's addiction. I am the brother of an addict. Personally, I don't feel this is the case now, as my brother's addiction has been so long, and I wonder if this is it for him going forward. It might seem strange to say, but I've learned to live with it, and I know now that the decisions are not mine to make, but my brother's. In the past, I've seen myself going around arguing and fighting with people who had purchased my family's stolen belongings, and ultimately funding my brother's addiction. I found myself being this angry and confrontational person, where being in public was not only about defending myself because I'd challenged someone, but they were now in a position to attack me back. I was always in some way defending my brother's actions, even though I disagreed with him. After all, he was family. But being family did not mean that we did not have our disagreements or I condoned his behaviour. I hated his behaviour, and now I know that this was not always his conscious decisions, but his addiction. I remember one time going looking for him, and as he had once again stolen from the house, myself and a friend drove around looking for him, and the longer it took, the angrier I became. We looked at a house along a street, and my friend sees someone at the window saying something. We knew my brother was there. As we entered the house and asked for my brother, I was told he was not there. My anger had become so much that I told the people in the house I was going to wreck it if they didn't tell me where he was. Not that it needed much wrecking, as it was, to say the least, a tip. Needless to say, they didn't tell me. So I proceeded to look around the house until I found him, and that is when the violence started. I started attacking him, mainly through anger, because I knew this was his addiction and I was helpless to stop that. But the upset I'd seen in my mum made this the option I was carrying out. Hitting him did not make me feel any better. It just upset me that this is what it had come to, and he didn't seem to care about the abuse. It was as if he had lost the will to exist. I share this story with my family group, not because I'm proud of it, but because I'm a bit ashamed that I let anger take control and there was no nurture for my brother. Not that nurture would have made any difference at that time, as he didn't care. That is what addiction does to you. I also reflect on how my mum would have felt knowing that her sons were being physically abusive to one another. She had technically lost one son to addiction. What if things had got out of control and her other son ended up in prison? This is something I quietly reflect on a great deal. I don't claim to be perfect, but reflection can be a good tool. The family group that I help facilitate has helped me understand that the drug of choice or the addiction may be different, but the problems families face are just the same. The enabling, listening to the lies, the manipulation, the sense of helplessness, the anger and the resentment. These are just a few of the things we regularly talk about, and I feel talking and listening is a great therapy for myself. I got to a stage where I turned my back on him because I felt my mental health and my own physical state were being compromised. I had a family of my own and I felt it was affecting my relationship with them. It is not something, again, I'm proud of, but I told my brother when he went to get help and support, I would support him. But when he fell again and relapsed, he was on his own. It was extremely difficult walking past him in the street, hearing people talk about him in a derogatory manner and not supporting him. But these were things I thought then was needing to be done. And maybe now in my current role I would maybe do things differently. Who knows? Hindsight's a wonderful thing. I had seen my mother retreat to the safety of her own home because my brother's behaviour landed him in prison a few times, and she somehow felt this was something she had a hand in. Whilst doing my degree course, I put a question in social media, and it went something like this. Is addiction a societal issue or an individual issue? I asked this question just to engage debate for my course. Maybe this is something that we should reflect upon. What is the answer? Some of the answers I got were it was the individual, because they chose to take the drink or drug that caused the issue. Some answered that it was a societal issue due to the pressures of everyday life and other such issues. Gabor Mate states addiction is not a choice anybody makes, it's a response to emotional pain. So I believe this is a debate that could go on for a long time based on people's outlook. I went and visited my parents' house and my mother was upset and asked me why I put that question up. She was then asking herself, did she love her other children more than she loved my brother? This again seemed to me that she was blaming herself for my brother's addiction. My life is now working within the addiction field, so in some ways my brother's addiction has made me move into something that I was in the outskirts of and did not think I would do professionally. I'd worked in transport for 24 years with a local authority and volunteered in my local community with young people and lastly with families with loved ones in addiction. This group has helped me mentally and professionally and is something I continue to take part in. So in some way, when I said earlier that my brother was on his own when back within the realms of addiction, when I self-reflect, is he really? There have been moments of hope, like the time he went into rehab, stayed clean, get his teeth fixed and looked healthy. I even had to take a second glance when my mother showed me a photograph of him. This strapping man looking a picture of health, beating his bones, healthy skin and smiling. I could see my mother was very happy and proud, maybe even hoping that this was the moment my brother had got recovery. But that moment was fleeting and relapse followed. Personally, I feel this to be a problem with my brother due to his addiction. I believe society has stigmatised people so much that when recovery is a possibility and they're ready to move from rehab or place of safety back to community, then anxiety builds and maybe they feel, can they do this? My brother, I felt, was this, and moving back into community was like being at a cliff edge for him. Jump to the safety of community or retreat back from the edge and into addiction. And retreating back always seemed to be my brother's choice at all times. This could have been him feeling that his past behaviours were somewhat stopping him because society had not fully forgave him, or he did not fully know how to integrate back into community, as rehab had maybe not prepared him for that step. So maybe as a population we have to take a closer look at ourselves and ask, are we doing enough? I wish I could wave a magic wand and make it all better. I wish I could take away their pain, their cravings, their suffering. But I know that's not that simple. Addiction's a monster that doesn't let go easily. It's a battle that he has to face. And all we can do is stand by them and hope that one day they find the strength to break free. If anything, my brother's addiction has taught me a lot about resilience, about the depths of love. It is a lesson I never wanted to learn, but it is a part of my life now and my family's. Maybe if I look at myself, I'm a bit more empathetic. I would also say that I'm now more aware of people and would class myself as a people watcher. I also maybe come across as hard to get close to, angry, abrupt, maybe more, but that's for others to say and not me. I am me, and I firmly believe you take me as you find me. This could be a consequence of my brother's addiction, or maybe that's just me as a person. So that is me and some of my story about addiction and family. And my name's Bobby Walker, and that is how we started Addicted to Recovery podcast. I hope I've helped in some way. And finally, if we think, if I had the whole world's attention for a few minutes, my message to them would be something as simple as this Japanese proverb. Fall 7 times, get up 8. Thanks for listening.